face that way. I'll move, so I'll put what I speak about behind me. So from there, we have a nice view of Old Town Square. We're in the heart of Old Town Prague. Now the name Prague, most people say Prague. They're talking about this big city of modern era, of course, but historically, Prague was just Old Town, Praha. There were other small cities nearby, New Town, Little Town, and Castle. They were all separate cities in the 18th century when the center of the area was unified, one city, Prague. So when I talk about different neighborhoods, we're talking about different historic cities. And the Old Town is the oldest, founded at least by the 700s. Now in the 700s, there would have been a small trade port on the river Vltava. And over the centuries, that small trade port grew into the largest settlement of this region, Bohemia. You guys heard that word before, Bohemia? Maybe Bohemian Rhapsody, right? That has to do with French stereotypes about Roma people from Central Europe in the 1800s. So we use the word Bohemian in English, almost completely disconnected from the culture and the geographic region of Bohemia. I will say Bohemia a lot throughout the tour. I want to make it clear, I'm not talking about Bohemian Rhapsody or Boho style, something else. That's what French people said about gypsies or Roma coming from Central Europe in the 19th century. It bled into English as well later on, but we're not really connected to the history and culture here. Now we are going to head back in time to 1377. This is actually the last year of the reign of the most famous Czech king, Charles IV. Have you heard of anything in Prague named Charles? We have Charles Bridge, Charles University, Charles Square, Charles Street, lots of things named for Charles IV. Charles IV is considered by many to be the greatest Czech king. And he happened to be born in that building, this little tower with a Czech flag flying outside the window across the square from us. That building is named the House of the Stone Bell. It was built in the 13th century. Charles IV was born there in the late 13th century. And it is our anchor back into the past. So when we put our headsets on, I want you to be facing the House of the Stone Bell, because it was still there in 1377. Some other things I'll point out to look for when we travel back to the 14th century. Many things have changed, but some things do remain the same. The House of the Stone Bell will be there. I want you also to look for the big, beautiful church of Týn. Týnska Church was under construction. It was being built in the 14th century, not quite done. Another thing to notice, what is behind you now? We have a little park with trees and little stands, and on the side here, right, is a Gothic building that looks sliced in half. It was the Gothic Old Town City Hall, damaged in World War II. Half of the building burned down. That's why we have these trees here. All right, so those are some things we'll look at throughout the. We're going to go now back in time. I'm sorry, take out your time machines. Put them on. That's our official terminology here. Make sure they fit comfortably. Maria will come by to check on everyone's devices to make sure that they are fitting well.
While that one restarts, I'll tell you a little bit more history. The name of the city, Prague, in English, is actually Praha. In Czech, Praha is an old Czech word. It means threshold or crossing place. The city was a threshold of trade. The city was originally a trade port on the river. All right, excellent. You guys ready to travel back in time to 1377? Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Excellent. All right, so now you have around you 14th century Prague. That is excellent. So as you look around, I want you to look forward towards the same building I spoke of before, where Charles IV was born. The House of the Stone Bell, that little Gothic tower, still in place, looks largely the same as it did historically. But beside it, to its right, you'll see there is a church under construction. That is the Church of Týn. Now, Our Lady before Týn, the name of the church. Týn is an old Czech word meaning enclosed or courtyard. Because as you see, the church is enclosed. It is behind a number of smaller buildings. And today, those are big grand palaces, but historically, these were smaller medieval era homes. These small houses over time be bought up by the wealthy and renovated to have a new front facade. Suddenly, two houses become one, three houses become one, and if there happens to be a street between the two houses, like you can see there's some gaps between them, they would create a passageway. So that church isn't completely enclosed, built behind the home. It was funded by the merchants. You can see a busy marketplace. You can even smell the marketplace. Funny enough. And hear the marketplace. It's a busy day at the market. And this market brought so much trade from that trade world. And the merchant class was doing very well in the 16th century. A lot of wealth came into Bohemia at this time. Big silver mines in the north, generating roughly 1/3 of the silver of Europe at that time. The wealthy merchant class, they funded the construction of the new church. So that church under construction was essentially for the merchants, and they were not going to build a church on the square. That's where they made their money. That was their commercial. They couldn't fit behind the houses on the side. All right. Now if you look behind you where today there stands the park, you will see the old town city hall as well as villas and large homes across the Isthmus. There would be no park in a medieval city. If you wanted to visit nature, you would walk 20 to 25 minutes any direction. You're going to be very out of parks are very much modern nature. They wouldn't put any green spaces here. So if you guys are ready, we're going to come back to the present day. All right. Is that okay with everyone? Everyone ready to come back? We're going to 3, 2, 1. You should be able to see. And now you can take your headset off and put it back into your bag.
Religious movement out of Catholicism known as the Hussites, followers of the Hussites. They later merged with the Protestants and had very similar ideas, kind of like the Bible written in the language people speak, as well as he would preach in the Czech language. He was also a professor of theology at Charles University. He was an anti-corruption campaigner within the Catholic Church, and he was burned alive in the States. So,
after you said after the last time, it was obvious that will be the next one.
A reformist within the church, he was killed, condemned to death for heresy, basically. But he became a martyr to his followers here in Bohemia. There was a 20-year war fought after this, the Hussite Wars. They merged with the Protestant movement about 100 years later, and they actually still exist. 4% of the country identifies as Catholic. All right. You guys have any questions? Okay, we're going to head to our next part. You guys will follow me this way.